Pop off. And then I grab it. Okay.
This is shedding the
Yes.
skin.
And he has ticks on the head. Hello and welcome. This is the story of how I went to Ghana in West Africa to catch and help learn more about the Savannah monitor, one of the most frequently sold and rehomed monitor lizards, but one of the more misunderstood species as well. Upwards to almost 100,000 Savannah monitors are sold each year as part of the pet trade, but virtually nothing is known about how they live in the wild. Combined with the fact that most Savannah monitor owners are beginners when it comes to reptiles and have no experience with monitor lizards, a lot of the babies sold at pet stores die before they reach their first birthday. The ones that survive their first year usually live to about 3 to 5 years old before dying ridiculously obese. Compare this to the 10 to 20 years life expectancy of other monitor species. 99.9% of all Savannah monitors kept as pets are imported from West Africa, mostly from the three countries Ghana, Togo, and Benin. The animals are wild caught or harvested as eggs from wild nests, or a gravid wild female is caught and put into a box until she lays her eggs, and then the eggs are incubated and the female is thrown out. The stress of exportation plus the internal parasites these animals may carry, might further increase the risk of dying. A possible solution to these last two things is to only buy captive bred Savannah monitors. The problem is, they don't exist. Kind of. Out of all the Savannah monitors sold, less than 1% manage to breed before dying. The few times someone manages to breed them, the female usually dies within a few months or never enters a reproductory cycle again, as in, she never manages to mate or lay eggs ever again. If you're interested in monitor breeding, go watch Croc-Doc2's video series about monitor breeding to learn how these cycles work. What we want to do is to increase the life length of captive Savannah monitors and enable people to start breeding them more successfully. In order to do this, we need to learn more about Savannah monitors in the wild. So I decided to go to Ghana and meet up with Dr. Daniel Bennett's research team located there. Since I live in Sweden, the walking distance to Ghana is a bit too long. So I took the train to the capital of Sweden, Stockholm, and then I went by air. It was my first time flying and I was quite scared when we took off. The journey, however, went smoothly, and after about 16 hours after I left Stockholm, I was met at the airport in Accra, Ghana, by my friend
Anthony Adie Mba,
who brought me to the hostel. The next day, we met up with Bature Ali and left Accra to go to the fields on the countryside, where we met Issa Abdullahi. Bature and Issa acted as our guides, as both were experienced when it came to both the harmless and the more venomous wild creatures that could be found in the area. Whenever we would find a Savannah monitor, we would weigh and measure it. and check if it had been marked previously or if it was the first time it was caught. New individuals were marked with a unique number on the tail before being released. When marking them, we first removed a pair of scales on top of the tail. Then we would count a number of scales in the direction towards the end of the tail. These scales we counted will be left unharmed and represents the first digit of the lizard's number. We skipped these scales and then removed another pair of scales on top of the tail. The number of scales between this newly removed and the old removed pair exactly matches the first digit we wanted. Then we skip an amount of pairs equals to our next digit before once again removing a pair. Then repeat the process to get the next digit, which in our case is also the last, since we so far have marked hundreds, which is 3 digits, of lizards, but not thousands, 4 digits. The important thing is that the number with all its digits is contained between the first and the last pair of removed scales. Otherwise, you will have no idea what number the lizard has if it is ever recaptured later. If the number contains 1 or multiple zeros, it can be hard to read, and the number can easily be misread as another one. To work around this problem, we skip any zeros and instead give them the digit 1. For example, if we marked our last lizard with 89 and we catch a new one, we will mark it as 91 instead of 90. Or if we just caught a lizard number 299 and we catch a new one, we mark it as 311. The next one will then be marked as 312. So we skip all the numbers from 300 to 310 and go directly from 299 to 311. Here's an example of us checking the number on a recaptured specimen.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
So 90, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 96.
The red color here is for scales we have removed. If you want to, you can test yourself by trying to read the markings on this one. If so, pause the video now. This one is number 471. And here's another example, number 246. We use this marking method because it is permanent and doesn't rely on the animal being a fixed size. If we put rings around their feet, as is done with birds, the young lizards would outgrow them, and they'd either cause circulation problems or break and fall off. They would also obstruct the lizard when it is trying to engage in natural behaviors, such as digging or climbing. It would also cost money to buy a bunch of rings with different sizes and unique numbers. So our method is more cost efficient and it has minimum impact on the behavior and the health of the animal. We also cannot attach any mounted cameras onto the lizards because it would prevent them from entering burrows, or they would get stuck with it in trees or bushes. Not to mention the cost of cameras and batteries. When it comes to tracking their movement, we instead use the spool tracking technique, in which a spool with a thread was attached by adhesive tape to the tail of the monitor, and after the lizard had been released, we could follow the thread to see which path it had taken. Most of the Savannah monitors we found were so-called neonates, freshly hatched babies. We only found one adult.
Let's grab it. Ticks on the head. The bend. There's the bend. Let's see the ugly. No. That's the tick. The female frog. You see the tick there. Let's check that there's no mark. Rib catcher. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. The number.
That's the number. That's the number. Fresh one. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
So 90, 96, 96.
96. Okay. We are going to wait.
We were there at the beginning of the rain season in June, so most of the adults were still out of sight up in the treetops, since they were supposedly at the very end of the diapause. An important food source for the Savannah monitor is the giant burrowing cricket, whose Latin name is Brachytropus membranaceus. It is, as the name implies, quite big, and it would be interesting to see whether or not it could be bred in captivity to be used as a food for captive Savannah monitors. The cricket lives in burrows in the crop fields and is a major crop pest. It bites off leaves from the crops and drags them into their burrows. According to Bütike and Bünzli, 1958, the food found in burrows is neither moldy nor fermenting, and it is suggested that the crickets might do something to the food in order to preserve it. Males are said to do this for females, which they then supposedly wall in underground together with the leaves. I am not sure if they will dig for roots and eat the roots too, but I suppose it is possible. They dig rather deep tunnels. For adults, that's about 50 to 80 centimeters. The tunnels protect them from predators such as birds. But the tunnels do not protect them from the Savannah monitor. Baby Savannah monitors will actually seek out the cricket burrows and use them for shelter. When the monitors grow big enough to fit the crickets into their mouth, they will turn onto their host and eat them up.
Enjoy.
Here you can see a nymph. And here you can see an adult. We could also find the giant black scorpion, Pandinus imperator. They were buried underground, and the entrances of their burrows were easily distinguishable from that of the Savannah monitor. To demonstrate this, we dug up a few. We also found the red scorpion, which I think belongs to the Hottentotta genus. I'm not entirely sure about which particular species it is though. The red scorpion is considered more dangerous, as it is said to be more easily provoked into stinging, and it also wanders into people's houses where people live. One of my friends, who were with me on this trip, told me he had been stung by one of them that had snuck into his bed. He had felt agonizing pain. The black scorpion, on the other hand, is seen as more complacent and is said to almost never sting. The bigger size also makes it a lot easier to spot, at least for adult specimens, than the smaller red scorpion. The black scorpions will also eat the giant cricket if offered, and the Savannah monitor might in turn eat the scorpion, as claws of black scorpion and stingers of red scorpions have been both found in fecal samples taken from wild Savannah monitors. Both crickets and scorpions have been found whole in the stomach contents of dead wild Savannah monitors. So either way, the cricket ends up in the belly of the beast, so to say. Savannah monitors also eat other invertebrates, such as millipedes. There was a thunderstorm one night, with very heavy downpour. It rained all night, and in the morning the fields were flooded. Overnight, a giant lake had taken shape, and swift rivers had been born. The motorcycle driver who was supposed to drive us refused to give us a ride that day, because he thought it too risky and too easy to get into accidents or get stuck in all the mud. We found a plant that reacts to being touched by folding its leaves inward. We found a bunch of other critters on the trip too, such as agamas, and presumably agama eggs, birds, caterpillars, frogs, grasshoppers, and millipedes.
The inside, you can check.
Maybe they did.
Yeah. To look.
We also found the nests and eggs of a couple of ground nesting birds. Bature Ali caught 2 snakes during our trip. A royal python, also known as ball python, and an unidentified snake, which we later found out could possibly be Boaidon lineatus. Because we couldn't identify the species at first, we treated it as if it was venomous, and Bature showed us how he would handle a venomous snake. The area is also home to cobras, green mambas, and puff adder.
Snake lizard. Took a lot of pictures, but I didn't get a good one.
Ah yes, big head, big orange head.